Hi, this is Mr. Ng going over your Math 4 Chapter 12B test. This was taken on April 27, 2017. Versions A and B were the same. The test was out of 59 points. Actually, it was, I think, 61, but I'm going to leave it. Question number 1, multiple choice. Given the table of values, what type of function is it? So the first thing you need to do is find their differences. So going down, you'll notice from -2 plus 1 gives you a -1, -1 plus 1 gives you 0, 0 plus 1 gives you 1, and 1 plus 1 gives you 2. Now here is called the first difference. And to go from -4 to a -1, you add 3, -1 to a +2, you add 3, 2 plus 3 is 5, 5 plus 3 is 8. So you have a first common difference. They are consistent, therefore it is linear. Because they're all the same, then you stop there. Okay? If you had a second difference, so for example these numbers are different and then this number here was the same, then that would be quadratic. And if they're just not the same, then that would be neither. Question number 2. Use the following function for questions 2a through 2g. So basically you are using this function here, and it tells you first to complete the following f of x. So right here is f of x, and essentially what you're doing is you're just kind of putting this in. You're doing like 5 mini problems. So you put in -2, -2 minus 1, and -2 plus 3. -2 minus 1, -3. -3 times 1 gives you -3. -1, putting in for the x's, so -1 minus 1 is -2, -1 plus 3 is +2, -2 times 2 is -4. X of 0, 0 minus 1 is -1, 0 plus 3 is 3, -1 times 3 is -3. And f of x equals 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. 1 plus 3 is 4. 0 times 4 is 0. X is 2, so f of 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. 2 plus 3 is 5. 1 times 5 is 5, therefore 2 comma 5. Here, if you made 0 mistakes, you got 4 points. 3 points if you made 1 or 2 mistakes, and then 2 points if you got something right, most of it wrong. For the first differences, so to get the next part correct, you're going to have these right. So to go from -3 to -4, the numbers are getting smaller, so that's a -1. Numbers are getting bigger, so add 1. Numbers are getting bigger, add 3, and go ahead and add 5 there. If you get all of either column, if they're all correct, 2 points each, or something's correct in there, you got 1 point, or 0, it's all wrong. There you get your second common difference is just adding 2. Question 2b, does the table represent a quadratic function? Circle yes or no. The answer is yes. You'll know that by it has the same common consistent difference here. 2c, explain if it is or not quadratic. Now, you guys did not know this for your test. We didn't go over multiplying polynomials, then you could just use follow your box and get x squared. So there is a power of 2, even though you don't see it. That would be x squared plus 2x minus 3. The second one you know if it's quadratic is if your second common difference is consistent or the same number. You have a common difference there, it's quadratic. Now if you mentioned something about the table first doesn't have to be consistent but the second one does, I give you 1 point. Question 2d. The above is in the intercept form. So when you have double sets of parentheses, 2 sets of parentheses, that's the intercept or factored form. I wrote the equation down here. I can zoom in. So here, it asks us to find the axis of symmetry. So the axis of symmetry, all you have to do for the axis of symmetry is take your x-intercepts. So this is your original equation. Remember in class we turned all plus signs to minus, and therefore you can see that your p-value is 1 and your q-value is -3. And then basically you're adding these 2 points together. -3 plus 1 is a -2, and -2 divided by 2 is -1. So -1 becomes my axis of symmetry. It's the midpoint. That's where I'm going to fold the parabola in half. Now you take your -1, and it said C above, so if you put in -1 into your function, and you do this correctly, you actually just have this problem right here. Put in the -1, -1 minus 1, -1 plus 3, and you get -4. So -1, -4, 1 point apiece. Okay, sketching. So this is an example sketching that I'm doing. I'm just drawing. Okay, that's sketching. And this is labeling. Most students did not do this part, so let's put P is 1. The letters don't matter. This one does here. So here's my labeling, axis of symmetry, and my vertex is -1, -4. Okay, that's labeling. So 2E asks you to find the axis of symmetry. If you found that, I gave you +1 on top of your 1 point for trying. If you wrote the vertex, I give you another one, and then if you have it opens up, I give you another one for a total of 4 points. Question number 3. Fill in the blank squares so that each row and each column contain all the digits 1 to 4. Numbers in cages may repeat as long as they are not in the same row or column. So I'll just use this blank one. So I'm going to do the gimmes first. That's a 1. This is a 4. I'm thinking of 2 numbers that multiplied before. Well, I can't choose 2 and 2 because that would be repeating in a row. So it has to be 4 and 1. Well, I can't put a 4 here because it's repeating, so I can put a 1 here and a 4 here. Let's see what else we can do. I need 2 numbers that add up to be 3. Well, you can't use 0 and 3. You use 1 and 2, and I can't put the 1 here because I have 1 there. So I'm going to put 1 here and then a 2 here. This one is missing a number. That'll be 3. 2 numbers that multiply to, or add to be 5. That's 2 plus 3. And this row is missing, column is missing a 4. This row is missing a 3. 2 numbers that subtract to be +1. This is not -1, so that would be, I guess I can't use 4, so that would be 2. And this column is missing a 1. I need 3 numbers here. Notice the darkened areas, so this is kind of like a dotted, so these 3 will add up to be 6. Well, if I take away 1 here, that means I need 5. I can't use a 4, so it'll be 2 and 3, and I can't put a 2 here, so this will be 2 and this will be a 3. And then over here I'm missing a 3 in the row and then a 4, and that checks out. 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 3 is 11. So writing your name nice and neatly, first and last, plus circling the period is 3 points, and then that side is 24, so a total of 27. I think I made a mistake adding up points. Alright, the back side. Use the following equation here. J of x equals -x squared minus 2x plus 4. Because there are no parentheses and you have the power of 2, this is standard form. Identify the a, b, and c. Remember, you only have numbers here. So if you need to, you can always put a number right there. So you have your a value is -1. You get that from standard form. So a is -1, b is -2, c is +24. Those are 1 point apiece. In standard form and standard form only, to get the axis of symmetry, use this formula, x equals -b over 2a. So if you got the rest of this wrong, and you got the equation, I gave you guys 1 point. A lot of students miss this part. That's just simplifying. So number 1, leave that negative sign on the outside. We've talked about that in class numerous times. This is how I do the problem. I just leave that way out there. Your B value is -2. So I like to just cover up the negative sign. Your A value is -1. So this is 2 times -1 is -2. This is division. -2 divided by -2 equals a +1. And then the red one, the opposite of +1, is a -1. Your answer is x equals -1. I saw a lot of students simplify that to be, I think, like 4, which is incorrect. Look at your math operation. It's division. You take this number, x equals -1, and you put it in for your vertex, right? That's your x value. To find your y value of the vertex, you're just going to substitute it in. So if you have the equation j of x equals -x squared minus 2x plus 24. Every x value I'm substituting as a -1, and when I do that, I'm putting in parentheses. Remember, PEMDAS, order of operations, tells us to do exponent first, so -1 squared is -1 times -1 is a +1. Then you do, so we've done parentheses, exponents, and then multiplication. So this becomes a -1, -1, and this one is -2 times -1 is a +2. So -1 plus 2 is a +1. 1 plus 24 is 25. -1, 25 is your vertex. Left 1 up 25 is your vertex. That's labeling here. So sketching is just drawing it. Labeling is actually writing the names. X equals -1. That's the information in 4C. So I know it opens down because A is -1. For C, x equals -1 there. For D, -1, -25. Now think about this on the y-axis. 25 is higher than 24. So this is the highest point. That's why it's called the maximum. Opens down because your A value is -1. And the y-intercept goes through 24 because of your C value. And this is your graph. That one is out of 5 points. Now, let's just say you got the vertex wrong. I gave you 4 points. If you have all of this correct. For F, complete the table. So, domain goes from left to right. So I do interval notation first. The first thing I touch is the arrow, and it's coming from the negative side, negative infinity. And the last thing I'm going into the left to right direction is this last arrow is going in positive infinity. So negative infinity and positive infinity. Anytime you write this, basically says you could pick any number. That's all numbers, all real numbers. The range is going from bottom to top. So if I take my pen, ignoring the axis of symmetry, the first thing I'm going to touch are these arrows, and those are coming from the negative infinity side. So down here is negative infinity. And then the last thing I'm touching is 25 on the y-axis. I include that point as a closed circle. That means the range is another way of saying the y values. And notice how you can pick any number from the negative numbers and you stop at 25. So you're basically picking numbers that are less than 25, less than or equal to. Here's how I scored you on this point right here. Question number 5, use the following: f of x, like that, equals x minus 4 squared plus 1. So I see only one set of parentheses and I see the power of 2. They call that vertex form. The axis of symmetry, well, we learned, write down the formula, and you'll notice that there is a minus sign, therefore your h value is 4, and your k value is 1. So your h value actually becomes your x value for the axis of symmetry. So that is just 4. Your vertex is hk. Well, you already got the h value here, or your x value, and therefore your y value, your k value is 1. So you just graph that. 5b tells you to graph the axis of symmetry. So this is my sketch. AOS is my label. And there is axis of symmetry going there. 4, 1 is my vertex. Graph it. Notice here, 1 is here, but it doesn't go through. This is not your y-intercept. Okay, 4 points for that graph. To find intervals of increasing and decreasing, you're going from left to right. And you're only focusing, so I'm starting here. Now think about this. On a roller coaster going in this direction, this is down, right? On this graph right there, that's down. So that would be the decreasing part. Okay, you stop at 4. So negative infinity, and you're going to 4. You're stopping there. Now remember we talked about this is a parentheses because right here it's not going up nor down. It's not increasing or decreasing. Then the second part is where is it increasing? So from here, that's 4 till infinity. That would be this part. For that one I gave you, if you use the wrong numbers, maybe you put in a different number because you were wrong over there, I give you 3 points. If you use the wrong number here, that's 3 points. If you use different symbols but correct numbers, 3 points. Something in here is correct, I gave you 2 points, and if they're all wrong, I'll try to give you 1 point. The extra credit, our school colors are red, white, and gray. And that side was 32, I think. I had another student add it up. I think it was supposed to be out of 61, but I'll just keep it at 59, so just take that as a thank you present. Have a good day.